to earth. Do you remember? Why have we taken birth? Do you remember?
Beautiful, thank you. That's off your latest CD, right? Yeah. Got to put in plugs, you know. We put in shameless plugs here once in a while. In fact, I'm going to put in a shameless plug if you don't mind. Can I put in a shameless plug? Are you okay with that? Okay, you won't reject me from your heart? Okay, good. You know, one of the things this community did when I first got here was they put 50 pink flamingos on the lawn of the person I was staying with. Where's Ed? I know Ed's here. There's Ed. He welcomed me to his house, and then he took off for 2 weeks. And the next day I arrived, and there's 50 pink flamingos sitting all over my front lawn, and a big sign that says, "Welcome home, Reverend David. Welcome to your new flock." And I love that about this community, is it has been a homecoming ever since I've been here. For those of you who are new, I've only been here for just over 6 months now, and I feel so at home, and I appreciate that. It's something this community does so well. You do open your hearts. And so if you're new here, you know, just trust that you're stepping into a community with open hearts. The shameless plug I want to put in is that in the second weekend of January 9th, 10th, and 11th, I'm doing an intentions retreat. We'll have the signups available next week. But if you want to start your year off in a very, very, very powerful way, to start to listen to what is it the Spirit wants to express through you, and then to start to get the idea of how to make that happen in your life, you want to be at that retreat. And we're going to do it at the Gaia Hotel just down the road, so you'll start off the year pampered in luxury. There's an optional spa available there if you want to have a little spa moment and stuff like that. And then there'll be a series of classes or workshops each month following that you have to have attended the retreat to be in the class. So what you want to do is you don't want to be the person who around July keeps hearing all these wonderful things about the workshops and goes, "Dang, I wish I'd gone to that retreat." You want to be at the retreat. Got it? All right. That's my shameless plug. So we're here today to celebrate homecoming, to celebrate the idea of our community and the history of our community. And there's a story I want to start with, and some of you have heard this story before because I've told it here before, but I love the story and I'm going to tell it again. There's this newlywed couple, and they're coming up on Easter, and the wife is fixing the Easter dinner, and she's fixing this ham. And right before she puts it into the pan to put it into the oven, she cuts the ends off the ham. And the husband kind of looks and says, "Well, but that's like my favorite part, is that crispy end of the ham, you know." I'm a vegetarian, by the way, but I can still tell this joke, because I used to like the really crispy ends of the ham a long time ago. He's never seen that before, you know, and so he says, "Why do you do that?" And she goes, "Well, that's the way my mother always used to do it. That's the way you do it." And he thinks this is strange, but she goes ahead, she puts it in. And Mom is coming over to celebrate dinner with them later on that day. So when she comes over, they're talking, and he says, so Mom, why did you cut the ends off your ham? Your daughter says that that's how you do it. And she goes, "Yes, that's how I do it. My mother always did it that way." And he says, "Wow." He says, "Well, I'm just curious. Let's call Grandma up and ask her why she cut the ends off the ham." So they do. They call Grandma up, and she goes, "I don't cut the ends off my..." "Oh, wait. You know, when she was young, I could only afford one pan, and it was a really small pan. And the ham wouldn't fit inside of it, so I'd have to cut the ends off the ham to put it in the pan." Okay? We all have history and patterns and things that we run. And sometimes it's good to know what those are, because sometimes we want to change them. Other times we want to celebrate and honor them. And so what we're doing today, and what this wonderful book does that Reverend Mary has just written, is to celebrate and honor the community, this community, and where it has come from. We heard the King and Queen talking about how it was kind of there's a term in ministry for that, a bag church. You know, we wander from place to place, you know, the wandering church and church in a box and stuff like that. And it's really, you know, challenging to do. And so to have this beautiful space, to have this, we stand, as Sir Isaac Newton, you know, once said, "If I see further than others, it's because I stand on the shoulders of giants." And we stand on the shoulders of giants. And some of those giants are still with us, and it's wonderful to hear the stories. It's something that not every community has the option to do. And so today we celebrate that and we honor that. And so today we're going to be, we're rolling out the whole ball of wax. You get 2 ministers for the price of one today. Because I'm going to talk for a little while, and then Reverend Mary's going to talk for a little while. She's actually going to say the really cool stuff. I'm just kind of the quarterback, taking the ball, the snap from under center, and then handing it off to my star running back here who's going to run it in for a touchdown. So we're going to celebrate Reverend Mary's new book. Now, the tradition, David, you lived in Seattle for a long time and went to the Kathy Ann's church for a while. Did she ever describe to you how she reads a book?
No,
Kathy Ann always reads a book by starting at the last chapter, reading that chapter and seeing if she likes it well enough to continue to read the rest of the book. So I want to go to the last chapter of this book. Reverend David Robinson, hired by Center for Spiritual Living. Look at that handsome guy. This is a good book. It's a good book. Just shamelessness, what can I say? This story is a history of our community, but it's a story of more than just our community. It's a story of more than just the building, more than just the people, more than just the fun outings that have been had, more than anything else. It's also a story of a community that cares, that opens their hearts, that has a purpose. In my installation, I had a reading that closed with the idea that we are here not to lead people to our doors, but to lead people to their souls. We are here, this is a community that has supported people in coming to their souls for a long, long time. And Reverend Mary has a fabulous story that she's going to talk about with a gentleman who's far beyond the reaches of this building. Far beyond the reaches of this building. Because what you don't know about this community is you touch lives way out from here. Way out from here. There's alumni from this church that right now one of them is in a directorship position or high position up in home office, Reverend Jane Ryder, and other people who are out doing things. And every once in a while I've run into, as I've been talking to ministers, oh, you're from Redding. I started in Redding, or I spent years in Redding, and stuff like that. So this community has touched more than that. We affect so many people's lives. And so Reverend Mary is going to talk about that and introduce us to a person that she's worked with and share how it is that we've touched people's lives. So Reverend Mary.
Look at that.
Homecoming. Oregon Ducks.
They're great. They're a great team. They're a great team. Great team. Well, I'm really excited about this because when I was interim co-pastor with Reverend Sue for 2 years, every time I had a spare hour, I was digging through drawers and closets and looking for photos, looking for information, reading board minutes back to 1971. I mean, it was an affair of the heart, but it took a lot. And when it was done, it was like, this book isn't that big. What happened? All that great information, but it's all in here. And there's several hundred people's names in here, and if you are one, you want one. And please sign all of them in the back. So it's really a great time. You know, most alumni that come to a homecoming have taken classes or graduated, and they have a real sense of what a school is about. And we're a school of spirituality. We're a school that helps you grow the best you can to be the best person that you can be. So I want to ask you, do you remember your first Science of Mind class? It's like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to learn this stuff. This is really interesting. But what you do is you develop friendships there that last forever. Deep, deep friendships. And maybe you remember when you took the first Troward class. I hear giggles and laughs. I'm doing Troward right now, and I have 2 people that are brand new in this Troward class. And what's fun is the rest of the class gets to help them understand it, which is really great because I just love Troward. And if you went skydiving with Dr. James, anybody here went skydiving? Oh, several hands going up. Luana's here from Hawaii. Good to see you, sweetie. A lot of people went skydiving with Dr. James, and his class was called Life is Risky Business. And it was. And came across a photo the other day of Frances Bliley tandem skydiving. I mean, it's just a great picture. Her cheeks are, and she's like, okay. So you're going to hear a lot of good stories when we have the party for Harry and Frances. And then there was Camp Ladies, where a lot of us went on retreats, and you went into families, and then you did the deeper inner work, work that you'll never forget. And I'll never forget, because usually at Camp Ladies, there was a couple that were madly in love. And it doesn't last, that kind of massive love doesn't last long. And one year, Paul and I were the couple in love. Oh, it was heavenly. Heavenly. Those moments when everybody just wanted, oh, look, aren't they sweet? Look at those guys, So this is a day to just remember all those good times and all those wonderful times and all the people who've served here, ministers, practitioners, Jeffrey Proctor, one of our all-time favorites, and so many people. But what I want to share with you this morning is a story about a person that you'll probably never meet because I haven't met him either. But he's taken classes with me by correspondence. And he's in a prison in Missouri for murder, and he'll never get out. But in 2009, he found my name in a Creative Thought magazine, and he wrote me and he said, I looked at this magazine, and there's something here that I think might help me understand my life. Would you work with me on this? And we've been writing back and forth ever since. I want to share this, and it may seem like I'm reading a lot, but I don't want to miss his words because they're very powerful. In 2010, shortly after we began, here's what he wrote. Every year, month, week, and day is a facsimile of last year's week, month, and day. I'm alive, yet I'm prohibited from participating in the cycle of life. The ninth dominion, which is what he calls prison, is a vast necropolis filled with beings who either do not know that they are not in the land of the living or who are ultimately aware of their death, but they refuse to die. Humans encased in concrete cannot grow. Their growth is not authentic. At best, their growth is arrested. True growth implies consistent, nutritious stimuli. Devoid of these necessities, the being regresses into itself and hence becomes the living dead. Prison encourages escapism, a fleeing from reality. The being oscillates between two realities, namely the past and the future, because the present is not where the being wants to be. The present is full of anxiety and frustration. In an act of dehumanization, the being is commanded to give that which he does not possess, the future. The ultimate crime is perpetuated against this being. The future is taken before it's ever been touched. The being is hurled into a vortex of virtual reality and dehumanized to the point where his name is now just a number. One who cannot see the end of this existence is not able to aim at an ultimate goal in life. He ceases living for the future. That letter was like the first letters I received the first 2 years. He strived to understand, but the horrors of what he explained were hard for me to understand. So here we are in 2012. The past 2 months, I've been in a high-tech dungeon, also known as solitary confinement or the hole, for a minor infraction with a guard who believed his clothes gave him superhuman powers. During that time, I read Care of the Soul and Practicing the Presence. Through this and other studies, I've learned much about the world in which I exist. I've been made ready for the part I must play in shaping my life and discovering a purpose for my existence. I have accepted the casting. What I am to discover at my final destination, I have no comprehension. That I will discover something so profound, I have no doubt. I have endured much, And the endurance, the patience I have recently displayed has given me a different perception about the many things and a strength and a discipline to refrain from the violence and the male violent nature that plagues this world. I know now that it takes faith, strength, accumulated wisdom to go against my once deep warrior attitude. Recently, a guard verbally attacked me for having blue shoelaces. He worked hard to get me to violently respond, and yet I found an inner peace and a strength to take the shoelaces out of my shoes and give them to him. I pride myself for making this unprecedented and unexpected choice, not responding to his threats. But because of my inaction, a mystery has been added to my reputation, rendering me even more frightful by virtue of my new unpredictability. It has taken faith and courage and flexibility to grow in this labyrinth of steel and stone. But turmoil has driven me to discover and focus on my inner spirit. I had to come to terms with who I am. I had to realize my weakness and identify and understand my strengths. I had to adapt and apply the characteristics of manhood to my presence. I've gained every day, but then I had to become a living byproduct of my intelligence. I'd love to say that for myself. I had to become a living byproduct of my intelligence. My growth has been a process of becoming more than a thing, more than a stereotype, more than an exhibit, giving me determined pursuit of knowledge and a better way of living this life. I owe it to myself to develop my mind to the highest degree possible. The power of a committed mind exceeds any other force that I have come across in these lands. My life was once a question mark, my purpose a mystery. My time in prison has allowed me to get rid of bad programming and conditioned thinking. This time has given me an understanding of this world, its beauty and its ugliness. The more I understand, the greater sense of peace I hear and I attain. 2013. How I value these lands. How I value these lands in which I have evolved, and increasingly how I regard my status as an individual connected to other individuals. I don't glamorize the prison lifestyle nor its ruthless ways, but now I understand them. My life is connected with many others, even though they seem separate. They become meaningful as I discover how truly necessary my life and another's life truly is to each other. 2014, just 2 weeks ago. The teachings in the science of mind have been a momentous advancement in my studies. I've even exceeded my own expectations. Science of mind teachings have given me the instruments to access knowledge, the knowledge that I had only acquired in the form of axioms, but did not know methods and how to channel the dynamics. The abilities that can be obtained through a working knowledge of cause and effect can rectify one's thinking. At each point in my spiritual growth, my psychological growth, I find that a higher order structure emerges in my consciousness, and then myself identifies with it being in that higher order of structure, and then the higher order of structure emerges. The self then disidentifies with the lower structure and shifts its essential identity to the higher consciousness. Each successive higher order is more complex, more organized, more unified, and evolution has continued until there is only unity in all directions. My search for the absolute truth has been a colossal transition. What I value today is my path, regardless of the hardships it presents or the length of time it takes. At this time in my life, I have dedicated myself to universal mind and to use the gifts I've been endowed with to build greater wisdom, learning, and understanding, to progress to a higher level of existence, for my very soul is striving towards ascension and transcending an understanding of creation. That's my friend Michael Nichols. I wrote a letter to him yesterday. I read it this morning, and it sounded so simple. I mean, where's my vocabulary, you know? It's just an amazing thing. So I have a picture of him here, and I'll have it at the back table, and he's here with some of the books I've sent. But he's an amazing person and a great teacher for me. So I thank you, and hope you will take time to sign the books, have people sign your own. It's a great day to remember all of our past and where we've come from. Thank you. Thank you.
To love, serve.